name is Joey Balistreri. Welcome to my work table. I have received my curated bead box and it's really unique this month. I really love some of the things in it. It is called Silver Shadow and this is basically what it looks like. I'm not going to go through all of the beads because I had some issues with my box this month, and Curated Bead Box does always specify on their label on the box that they may substitute, and you may get different beads. Like every box won't have exactly the same one. It's based on availability. And so I did get the 6 strands that are in the box, but there was Dalmatian Jasper on the thumbnail list and I did not get that. And there were 2 10mm beads, but I only got 1. This is like an unspecified gemstone bead and it is quite beautiful. Some of the beads on this strand have this amazing dimension and depth to them. There's some broken ones on my strand, but there's quite a few that are really, really pretty. So anyway, this is like the overview of the silver. I am also missing a designer bead mix that is on the thumbnail. I just don't have it at all. So I'm just gonna set the beads aside. I'm just like, this is kind of the palette. It is really pretty silvers and grays and whites. And there is, like I did get this gemstone bead and this gemstone bead. It's just, I had trouble like even matching these up to what was on the list. So I'm just gonna set those aside. And I am totally in love with the little charms that came in this month's box. There were 3 different little handbag charms and they look like that, and I think they are so sweet. And so these 2 little handbags had quite a lot of detail with the little clasp, the little handbag closure. So I took this little plain one and I have a little set of crystals and I just added a little crystal to that. And we got some really pretty bead caps in this box, little tiny ones here and then a little bit larger one. There were 4 of these spacer beads. They don't have a really large hole. I have these already in my stash, these little diamond spacer beads, so they're really sweet. I absolutely adore this closure. It's a really beautiful, like oversized dramatic hook closure that grabs onto a ring. And so what I want to do is just go into my stash and I'm going to set, let me just clean up just a tiny bit here. Okay, so to add this little crystal embellishment to this purse charm, this is just a little selection of all different size Austrian crystals. It's an Amazon find. I can link it below. It was a really cool little set. It came with several tubes of glue, a little tweezer for adding the crystals to whatever you want, and it's just really fun. Now it came where all of the sizes were all separated in a really pretty little compartmentalized box, and in shipping mine had come undone and the crystals were all over the plastic bag. So mine are in a box like this, but that is all I did, is one little dot of glue and just place the crystal. I did this about 30 minutes ago, so it's set up so that we can play with it. And I went into my stash and I literally had this one little pewter shoe that I have had for a million years. I think it was actually on a charm bracelet of mine because it has a split jump ring. So that may make its way in, and this is also something that I've had for a really long time, a little like cameo, silver cameo charm. So I wanted to add, because I would like to have an odd number of items, and I'm going to do a leather charm bracelet. So it's kind of a updated modern version on an old classic. So I just have a little length here of this really beautiful pearlized, it's like a metallic lilac. So I just thought it was nice and cool and pretty with the silver in this box. And then from a past curated bead box, we had these crystals and I didn't use all of mine. And they have a really nice large hole, so they will go right on my leather. And I just loved like the purples and silvers, and it just looks really pretty. It kind of does the same kind of sparkle as the little gemstone that I added. And I don't know if I'll use these, but I had these little silver tubes that my leather also feeds on here. And what else did I pull? Oh, I have a few little spacers. Let me dump these out here. These are little Tibetan spacers. This is also an Amazon find. I tend to keep these things on hand, especially with the larger holes, because if I'm doing a multi-strand project with Brazilian wax cord or something, I really like to have some larger hole beads so that I can string anything on. come back. So I also have these little, really plain little disc spacers. They're just really plain but kind of contemporary. So I think this is like a really pretty little palette to start working with. I have a couple of these beads. I don't know how many I'll need. And I'm going to start by attaching, take this little ring from here. I'm going to start by attaching my leather directly to this little hook. Give myself a little bit of space, and I did not measure this leather I would need, with this large clasp, I would probably need about a 6-inch length, but I want to do some knots and some, you know, creative tying onto the ends. So I didn't measure, I just kind of, you know, did it with my heart. And by the way, I know everybody is going to ask me, because every time I work with leather, I get questions about where I get my leather, and this looks like this is a 2mm leather, and I think this is from Leather Cord USA. It's an Etsy shop. I've had it for a long time. It could be from Bracelet Street as well, because those are the two places on Etsy that I usually get my leather from. So you could really just tie a pretty knot, like an overhand knot, and I do that sometimes, and so that's totally doable. But I got this really cool little tool that is supposed to help with barrel knots, and I haven't done a barrel knot in almost a year, so I'm really out of practice. So if you're really great at this, don't cringe. I'm gonna try to get a barrel knot in here to start off my bracelet. And this tool, as I remember, I did use it months back for a video, and as I remember, it was really nice, really easy way to get your knots in there. So there's a channel in this, and I'm just going to take, let me get this kind of organized. I'm just going to take and start wrapping. And when you do a barrel knot, you wrap like backwards. You don't wrap toward your length, you wrap backwards. And as I remember right, like if I left myself a little bit, maybe I need to do a little bit more of a tail. But because of the channel in this little tool, it's kind of easy. I might have to start again and give myself a little bit more to work with, but let's see. Anyway, because of the channel, it's kind of easy to hold on to your loops. Yeah, let me go again, because I don't have enough of a tail to wrap. I don't want to waste my leather, so I'm being cautious. Let's go again. So I'm just going to line this up and take that tail and start wrapping. But as I said, I'm going to wrap toward the part that I'm not making the bracelet out of. So it's like, I guess I always say backwards, but toward I'm right-handed, so I'd be wrapping towards my left hand. And what I like about this tool is that if you want to do a barrel knot with really a lot of loops in it, it's pretty easy to keep them all lined up, because you're wrapping around this channel, around the channel, and then you have space to like feed. Can you see my cut end of my leather has come through? So once you have a hold of it, you can pull the tool away and then just tighten everything. And you know, you can do this with, you can use a straw, you can even use a tube like this. But what's cool about this tool is that channel. So if you're like always struggle to get a good barrel knot in, this can really like help you. And I like that I can get a little bit more coils. I am definitely not great at making these, because I'll get a wild hair and decide that I want to put one in a design, but I don't make them that much. It's really, I don't do a lot of this kind of jewelry. But I am getting it nice and tight. Just have to, I always have to kind of play a little bit with my getting it tight. But I really do love the way it works. I found this on Amazon too, and I can link that in the description box if you are a jewelry tool-aholic like me and you just love getting a new tool. So I am, I'm a gluer, and I will definitely, I really love the way that looks, but I don't know, I don't want it to wiggle free, so I will put some GS Hypo cement inside this knot when I'm all done. In fact, I think I might even just tie a little knot here, because I intend to do some overhand knots in my piece. and kind of see the leather as a spacer. So I'll just start out with one right here. Okay, now I just have to decide on a pattern, and I think what I'm going to do is start with a crystal bead and then maybe another overhand knot. Just use my fingers to wiggle that down into place. I love this metallic lilac color leather with the silver. I just think it is so pretty, and so I do want to kind of see that. And then I want to do a charm. I want to I even thought about doing the shoe charm just like on the clasp. So what I need to do, we did get a silver finding pack in this month's box, and there were jump rings in here. So if you're not familiar with Curated Bead Box, it is a value box. You get really, really nice long strands of beads. Like one of the strands in this month's box was a 16-inch long strand. It's this this crackle glass. I mean, that is just a massive amount, and I do love crackle glass. So it is a great stash builder if you're fairly new to jewelry making and you don't have a large selection of beads to pull from when you're designing. It is a great way, inexpensive way to build up your stash. And also, if you're newer to jewelry making, it gives you the opportunity to try a lot of different methods of making jewelry because it comes with stretch cord, memory wire, regular bead stringing wire. You get ear wires, you get lobster claws, you get a little bit of everything for jewelry making. So if you're fairly new to making jewelry, you can kind of practice with a lot of different elements. So it's a really great box for that. But I'll put all that information in the description box of this video if you are new to it and you're interested. So I just need to decide on my pattern here, and what I was thinking is to do a spacer bead and a charm and maybe a knot. Spacer bead, knot. Let me just think for a second how I want to create this pattern. Okay, let's see how that works. I'm going to put a jump ring on each of these charms. Okay, so initially I was thinking how cute these tubes would be because they really fit over this leather really beautifully, but I really love the color of this leather, and I'm thinking that I don't want to cover the leather up, so I'm just going to set those aside, and I may grab for them. We will see. So I think what I'm going to do is start with a charm and just add it right on and do another one of these. I like these plain spacers a little bit better. Oh, that's really pretty. And then another knot. So cute. And then let's see, maybe another one of these crystal beads with the nice large holes. Oh yeah, that's pretty. Whenever I make a leather bracelet, they're always a little bit stiff and not as fluid as like my Brazilian wax cord, but once you get the knots in and once you actually wear it a little bit, it really does become really nice jewelry. So let's do another charm. I'll do this little handbag. Another knot. And I do need to make sure, I might need to do a second ring because I need to make sure that when I tie my knot onto this ring that it still has the space, because I'm using 2mm leather. I just need to make sure it still has the space to come in and out of this little ball, and see how it is a little bit tight. So I am going to need to do another ring. So let me see, can I use this? I have to have a ring. This is a solid ring, so I have to have a ring that will open, and this one's not large enough. Okay, let me just pull some jump rings from my stash. Well, this one's got a nice thick gauge, and I should be able to tie my leather right onto that. Open this and add my solid ring. Whoops. And I just want to check before I commit to a knot. I just want to check. Yeah, that is so funny. This does not want to slide. Oh, there it goes. Is that always going to be a challenge? I am going to do it that way. I'm going to make that stainless steel ring the part that clasps on, and I'm going to tie a knot right there. Let me see if I need to add another bead. And I do. Need to add one more little something. Okay, that should do it. Now I'm just going to tie my last little knot, and you know, I totally 100% guessed about the length of my leather, and it looks like I got it just right. I guess it's from making a lot of bracelets, but it depends on, you know, when I'm doing a knotted technique, I don't ever actually know how many knots. It's really difficult for me to figure that out. So, you know, the more that you do, obviously, the more leather length it eats up as you're creating. And I never really know, like I had considered using these tubes. I pulled those out for the design and ended up not using them. But I'm going to use the last little bit of this and just make a super chunky knot right here on the end. Just pull it as tight as I can and get some glue in here. Oh, that's really pretty. Okay, I'm not going to trim any of my tails until I get my glue on. Let me just check and see if I ended up with about a 7-inch length. Oh, I got it perfect. And that adding a little bit larger ring with this hook that came in the box is going to be really, I'm going to go this way, much easier. That would be really much easier to clasp because the ring that came with the hook is really small. This is so beautiful. Look at this, you guys. It's simple. So I could even add my little cameo right here to this, and I think that I will. That would just make this a really feminine, little sweet, little girly bracelet. But before I do that, let me bring in some GS Hypo Cement for my knots. This, I get a lot of questions about glue, and the reason you would want like GS Hypo Cement for leather or Brazilian waxed cord or cotton cord is that it doesn't dry. It dries still rubbery a little bit, not crunchy hard like super glue will. So that you know, is good for leather, for things that you want your knots to move and not be rock hard when the glue dries. Looks like my hole might be a little bit blocked. Let's see if I can get it. Okay, there it goes. And so with this precision tip, you can actually direct the glue like inside the knots or in between the coils of leather, like on my, see, I can fit it right inside that barrel knot and just let a little bit of glue flow, and you know, just really make sure that as you tug on this to take it on and off, that it's not going to go anyplace. And I'm going to do the same thing on this end. Just direct a little bit of glue in these spaces, and it dries clear, so if you get a little bit like on the outside of your leather, it's okay. Okay, before I trim, I'm going to let those dry a little bit, and I'm going to attach this little cameo charm to this end. And so again, my box was a little bit defective this month, but I do love the charms. I thought it was a really pretty little color story this month. So I don't know what was in the designer bead mix, but these large hold crystals are from either last month or the months before Curated Bead Box. So I just pulled some things from my stash, and you know, that would fit on leather, and you could always do this project with a smaller millimeter of leather. I chose the 2 millimeter because I loved this color, and I just thought it was just really pretty. So I am going to clean up my mat. I hope this fast, easy little, very feminine, girly little project gave you a little bit of inspiration, some idea for what you could do with your box. It's a little bit of a modern twist on an old classic. A charm bracelet has been around forever. They were really popular in the 60s, and they came back again in the 80s. So I thought like doing it with leather and making it a little bit more modern would be just really fun and whimsical, and I really do like the way that it turned out. So I hope you're all having fun on your beading mats, and that you're all safe and well, and that your autumn is really a happy time for you. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you in the next video.